a few months ago, actually almost 9 months ago, in October last year, I was researching around zoochosis, right? Zoochosis is when an animal goes into captivity, and by animal I mean like a tiger, a monkey, or anything like that. When they go to captivity, they experience what's called zoochosis, which is they're out of their natural environment. They start to self-mutilate. They start to like rock like that. They start to do like bite themselves, pick at their skin, stuff like this, right? And I read a book at the time, which was what was it called? It was around gut health and bacteria and things like that. And it got me thinking about like humans and what's their natural environment. Like, so you mentioned that you're measuring, as you could say, different countries, different well-being, different countries, and different areas, specific areas. I wonder, and I'll tell you why I wonder this, but I wonder if we as humans are experiencing our own version of zoochosis.
Mm.
Now, what I mean by that is we've been so animals, I mean, some are born in captivity, but some animals have been taken out of their natural environment and put into captivity. They experience these symptoms, right? But eventually your captivity becomes your home, and you have these symptoms that perhaps aren't normal, right?
Mm.
So you look at the mental health issues, you could say there's a number of causes for that. But I wonder if the core granular problem is that we're living outside of what is natural to us. And we think it's normal to us because we're used to it. But really, how we're supposed to live is somewhat akin. Again, it's very general because each country had a different style of hunter and gathering. But we're supposed to live in alignment with this hunter-gatherer lifestyle. And to add to that, there's a bacterial strain called Lactobacillus reuteri, right? There's been studies done to show that I think it's 91 or even maybe as high as 96, either one of those two, of Western population doesn't have this strain called Lactobacillus reuteri. And it's been lost through the advent of overusing antibiotics, modernization, the foods that we eat, emulsifiers, things like that. And this bacteria, right, it's responsible, or it assists in the process of, if it's not present, I should say, it decreases oxytocin. Oxytocin is the chemical known for us to want to create connection, to have empathy, to hold empathy. And something like 91 to 96% of people no longer have this bacteria in their stomach, right? So one would assume, and again, like the science is still emerging on this, but one would assume that if from our modern diet and modern living, we've lost this bacteria, and therefore it's led to us, say, even 3 to 4% less wanting to be compassionate or empathetic, hey, measure that, I don't know, then one would assume that, and they measured hunter-gatherer tribes that exist today, and they have this bacteria in their stomach. So I wonder how much of our suffering as humans comes from not the attempt to modernize, but rather the attempt to come back to who we really are.
Yeah, no, that's really insightful. I feel like that's all stuff that I've thought about. It's really great to hear that there's science to kind of back that up. I feel like, probably if we're honest with ourselves, that resonates with all of us, I would think. Shouldn't make that assumption, but yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That's really insightful. I mean, something's going on, isn't it, with the all the different diagnoses and all the different diseases that are occurring. What is causing that? Why is all these things on the rise?
Autoimmune diseases, massively.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, there's something else as well. There's something known as old friend bacteria. And old friend bacteria, if I'm not mistaken, it's 3 different combinations of bacteria are found in our natural environment, right? So in the dirt, on animals, by animals I mean dogs, horses, things like that. Just being in the dirt, right? This old friend bacteria, these 3 strains, we have less exposure to them. And they've shown, and I can send you the papers on this, it's very comprehensive. They've shown that people immigrating over to Western countries like Australia, like America, the first generation experienced more autoimmune diseases and more inflammation in the body, which leads to various things, than those who stayed in their original country. And they found that because of urbanization, people weren't spending as much time in the dirt. Like if humans were to spend in nature what animals naturally do, like, picking up dirt, and like some babies even put it over their face and whatever. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying, I'm making an observation. Then we don't get exposure to these bacterias, right? And this inflammation, right, it can lead to depression. It leads to autoimmune diseases. And this paper shows this very comprehensively. And that's another thing as well. Hence why I'm talking about zoochosis. It's like we're in this captivity, and we're over hygienic in a way. Like we're afraid of germs. It's like, get away, germs. But we need germs because that's where the old friend bacteria are found, amongst other things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a conversation I have with my husband a fair bit, because in our family we have the spectrum of people that are all for germs and those that aren't. So my lovely mother-in-law is like super hygienic, very clean, loves antibacterials. My father, his hygiene levels leave a lot to be desired. Like I remember living with him and seeing him just lick his plate and put it on the clean rack of the
Oh, that's awful.
But he really believes in the value of germs. So I'm somewhere between the two. But yeah, we working out what's going to work for our little one. And yeah, I'm more of the, because of my upbringing, definitely roll in the dirt, eat the dirt, all of that. You're reminding me too, though, of another study that links, that looked into diseases and also the power of our subjective mind. So hence coming back to, why measuring subjective well-being actually is, is the indication of our well-being, because science has now started to prove that our subjective mind will actually influence our physical health. I kind of thought that was obvious, but now they've actually got science of that. And there was, the one about the monkeys that showed that, as well as like when they were left alone and isolated, their health deteriorated, but if put kind of with other monkeys, they could recover really quickly. But also in terms of our diseases, they say, like all our main diseases actually start kind of 10 years back, which is a set of 3 cells that, if inflamed for 10 years, lead to like our major diseases.
Wow.
That your subjective state of mind can influence that inflammation as well. So people with like chronic loneliness, more prone to chronic diseases. Whereas, people can endure in, war-torn countries and be exposed to incredible amount of pressure from external factors. But again, if they have things like purpose and will to live, that can keep them in a very positive subjective state of mind that keeps all the inflammation markers at bay. So it was just like this other kind of science coming at it to say why, measuring subjective well-being is actually a really important indicator of well-being, because subjective well-being can actually influence our physical being as well.